Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Tutor Test Prep. Today we'll be going over Skills Insight number 1, Algebra. This video will cover the Algebra section of the Skills Insight tool on College Board's website. The link to these questions will be in the description. I recommend you complete the questions before watching this video. Let's get started. Okay, so the first question says, Principal used a total of 25 flags that were either blue or yellow, and he used 20 blue flags. Okay, so if you use 20 blue, and there's 25 total, the remainder must be yellow. So I'm going to subtract 25 minus 20, and I get 5 yellow flags. And that gives me answer choice A. So we've got 20 blue, 5 yellow for a total of 25 flags. Okay, for this one, 8x equals 88. I want to get the x by itself. And to do that, I'm going to recognize that the 8 and the x, whenever I have a number next to a letter or a symbol, that implies multiplication. So we're going to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So we're going to divide both sides by 8. This guy goes away, and we're left with x equals 11, which is also answer choice A. And I want to remind you that on the digital SAT, you can't use Desmos, and you can type in most equations just like that and solve it just by clicking on it. So we also get 11 from doing it that way. Great, let's move on to the 370 to 410 band. And let me get rid of that. Okay, we got some graphs here. The graph of a system of linear equations, what is the solution? So the solution to a system of equations is the point of intersection. So the point of intersection is right there where the two lines cross. So you see x is 2 and y is 3. So that point is 2, 3, which is answer choice C. So whenever you find a solution to a system and they give you a picture, they want you to find the point of intersection. Point of intersection. That's what that means. So just make sure you look out for that if you see a question like that on your test. Great, let's look at the next question. Okay, what is the estimated temperature in kelvins when its pressure is 6 atmospheres? Okay, so we're going to go to pressure, that's the x-axis of 6. And we're going to, with our mind's eye, just look and see, okay, pressure of 6. And now we read out this way to the y-axis. And we get a temperature of 700 kelvins, and that gives us answer choice C. So for this one, all we did was read the graph. Just make sure you're looking at the right axis and that you follow it very carefully with your mind's eye. You're not going to be able to draw on the graph on the digital SAT, so you're going to have to be really careful that you're kind of, maybe use your finger or your pen and just kind of point at the screen and kind of trace to point at the axis and then point at the graph. But yeah, you're not going to be able to do what I just did where I just drew on it. So just kind of keep that in mind. Probably really easy to make a careless mistake on those guys. All right, let's go to the 420 to 460 band. Okay, let me take a look at this. Okay, so really important, I'm going to just make sure I know what the variables are. X is the number of triangles, Y is the number of rectangles. What is the best interpretation of 2473? So X we said is the triangles, and Y we said is the rectangles. So I probably want something that mentions 24 triangles and 73 rectangles. And it looks like the only thing that mentions that is A. So I think that is the answer, yeah. You see everything else, they either don't mention triangles and rectangles, or they mix up the numbers. Like these ones at the bottom, you see they put 73 triangles and 24 rectangles. These ones with paper straws isn't either of the variables, so those are kind of wrong right off the bat. And then this one mixed up the numbers, so that one's wrong because of that. Great, let's look at the second one. Table of values. So all the x values are 0, 2, and 4. If I plug in 0, I get 8, because 0 times 70 is 0. 0 plus 8 is 8. So right away, these B and C are wrong. And now if I plug in 2, I get 70 times 2 plus 8, which I believe is 148. And D does not have that, so he's wrong. And I'm thinking it must once again be answer choice A. Desmos could have helped you out here. You could have made a table, or maybe what might have been easier is if you just type it in using function notation and then do f of 0 and you go, okay, that's 8, f of 2, okay, that's 148, and then f of 4, that's 288. You could have also made a table, but that might have been faster to just do it like that. Just rapid fire go, oh, what is y when x is 0, 2, and 4? And then that would give you the answer really quickly. You don't have to do it by hand. Just showing you for the sake of the video. All right. Okay, so I think this band is done. So let's move on to the 470 to 540 band. Okay, so before we do this one, there's a really important concept on this one and maybe some other ones too that I want to talk about. So I'll just give you a second to write this down. So whenever you have linear systems, how many solutions in slope-intercept form? This is what you need to know. No solution, we call that parallel. They have the same slope and different y-intercepts. One solution, we call those intersecting lines. Those have different slopes. And infinitely many solutions, we call those coincident lines. And those have the same slope and the same y-intercept. So please, please, please make sure you pause this video and write this down, because this is essential knowledge not only for the test, but for some of the questions we're about to do. Great. Okay, I'm going to go back to the test question now. So I think it was the 470 to 540. So this one says it has infinitely many solutions. So that tells us right away that we want the same slope and the same y-intercept. So right away I recognize that this guy is in mx plus b, which is good, but this guy isn't. So what we have to do to get that guy in mx plus b is we have to distribute. So I'm going to write it like this. A times x plus 8. So ax plus, and then a times 8, which is just 8a. So now we're able to go, oh, mx plus b equals mx plus b. So same slope, same y-intercept. Doesn't matter which one you do. Why don't we do same slope? So the slope of that guy is 2, and the slope of this guy is a. So 2 equals a, or in other words, a equals 2. And that is our answer. And you'll notice that if we plug 2 in, we get 2x plus 8 times 2, which is 16. And we have the same slope, same y-intercept, so that gives us infinitely many solutions. So we did a good job. So there was 2 things you had to know. You had to know the table, and then you had to know that that right side guy, before you apply the table, you had to distribute it. So they do this a lot on the test where you got to do a little bit of work to make one of the sides look like mx plus b. Don't forget to do that. All right, next question. Okay, so this one, first off, right away, the y-intercept is the y value when x equals 0. So I recognize that x is 0. So 0, 3 is the y-intercept. And in mx plus b, b is the y-intercept. So is the y-coordinate of the y-intercept. So b is equal to 3. So right away, these guys that do not have b equals 3 are wrong. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't get it down to one answer choice, so I got to figure out the slope. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I do 31 minus 3 over 7 minus 0. And that gives me 28 over 7, which is 4. So the slope is 4. So the equation is y equals 4x plus 3 if we're using, again, mx plus b. That gives us answer choice C. Let me make sure that's right. Yep, so 2 and then C. Very good. I want to point out you didn't have to do that arithmetic in your head. You could have used a calculator. You could have typed the fraction into Desmos, got the slope, and then gotten the answer very quickly because they all have different slopes. Another thing you can do is, I talk about this in one of my other videos, is you can find the equation for anything by doing what's called a regression. So if I type in y1 tilde mx1 plus b, you see it tells me m is 4 and b is 3. So in other words, f of x equals 4x plus 3. That's another way you could have done it very quickly using Desmos. You can find the equation of any line from points just by typing them into a table and regressing it, y1 tilde mx1 plus b. Of course, this one wasn't that crazy, so you maybe would have been better off just, again, knowing y2 minus y1 and just doing one of these. And you get a slope of 4, and that gives you C. Anyway, all right, so I think that was it for this band. Let's move on to the 550 to 600 band. Okay, so this question is formatted really terribly. So I tried to put a line like where the things are different. So we want a linear system with no solution. This is exactly what we just talked about. So remember, no solution, parallel lines, right? So that's same slope and different y-intercepts. So you want to find ones with the same slope and different y-intercepts. D is a vertical line and a horizontal line. Those are going to cross like a T. So those have one solution, so that's out. C has different slopes. So those are actually one solution, so that's out. And B has the first one has a slope of 0, and the second one has a slope of 10. So those have different slopes, so those are also one solution, so that's out. So all three of these should have one solution. Let's look at A. So we've got the same slope, 6, and then different y-intercepts, 3 and 9. So this one has no solution. So the answer is A. Now, alternatively, you could have went and literally just typed all these in. So watch, let's do x equals 3, y equals 10. Okay, that has one solution. It's not that one. All right, let's do y equals 14x plus 14, and then y equals 10x plus 14. Those have one solution. They cross. Oops, I typed it wrong. Still, those cross right there. So that has one solution, so that is out. Y equals 10, y equals 10x plus 10. Those cross, those have one solution, so that's out. And then y equals 6x plus 3. And y equals 6x plus 9. Those guys are perfectly parallel. They're never going to cross, so they have no solution. So that's our answer. Great. Let me just make sure we got another one in here. Model estimates that whales from the genus travel 72 to 77 miles in the ocean each day. Great, so if they're traveling 72 miles per day, D equals RT. So it's going to travel between 72T and 77T. And we're going to just put in the 16 days as our time. So 72 times 16 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 77 times 16. I think that's answer choice B. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, it was basically just distance equals rate times time. So 72 miles each day. Not always, but each, a lot of the time, tells us like multiplication and division. So I feel like that was a keyword, each. So 72 miles each day for 16 days, you would multiply those. Again, if you're ever having trouble seeing the intuition of a problem, come up with a little like baby problem off to the side and be like, wait, if the whale went 5 miles each day for 2 days, you go, oh, that's 10 miles multiplication, right? It kind of helps you see it if you use easier numbers, if that makes sense. So it's one of the best problem solving skills you can have is to think of a simpler problem. Great. Okay, think we've done everything so far. Let's go and do the next band, 610 to 670. We're almost done. Okay, so this is an like a slope question, I think. So if you go and distribute this, you get 9/5 x. Let's see, what's 9/5 times 273.15? So you get negative 491.67, and then if you add the 32, you get minus 459.67. All I did was distribute this guy to here and then combine it with the 32. You don't even need to do this. Let me just double check that I did that right. 9/5 times negative 273.15 plus 32. Yeah, that looks right. You don't even need to do this. I'm just trying to get you guys to realize that this is a linear function, and it is y equals mx plus b. And the slope is 9/5. That's all I wanted you guys to realize. You don't even need this function here to solve the question, I'm pretty sure. So, another thing I want you guys to know is when you have function notation, the thing inside the parentheses is always your input, and then the thing on the outside is always your output, your y. Okay, so for this one, slope is delta y over delta x, the change in y over change in x. For this problem, it's not y and x, we use capital F and x. So where y goes, I'm going to put delta f, and for x, I'll just put delta x. And the slope is 9/5. So now it tells us if a temperature increased by 9.1 kelvins and x is the temperature in kelvins. So that tells us, because it's an increase, it's a delta x of positive 9.1. So do you see, like down here, I'm going to put positive 9.1 because x is the kelvins and because it's an increase. If it said decrease, we would put negative 9.1. Great. Now, it wants to know how much did the temperature increase in degrees Fahrenheit. So it wants to know what's the delta F. So I don't want to use too many like F's and X's because it'll get confusing. So I'm trying to think of another letter I could use. Why don't I just use little c, like for change or something? So we're going to put that here, and you see, oh, now we've set up a little equation that we can solve. So we're going to do that now, but I just want you guys to see, look, always make sure that the kelvins was on the bottom. Do a double check. Okay, 9.1 kelvins, that's on the bottom the whole time. Yep. And then F is Fahrenheit, which is your Y. So that should go on top. So that is on the top the whole time. Okay, so now to solve this equation, we can cross multiply. So 9 times 9.1 is 81.9. And then the other guy here, 5 times c. So that's just 5c. Now I divide both sides by 5. And we should get c equals 16.38. And that is answer choice A. which I believe is correct. Great. So please, 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 you could totally see this on your test. Make sure you understand how to write a slope as a change and then write the proportion. And again, make sure that you identified the correct variable as y and you identified the correct variable as x. They do not have to use x and y. They could use whatever letters they want, as long as you know that the letter on the outside of the function notation is your y and the letter on the inside is your x. So see, that's why I put these here. Great. And of course, if you wanted to, you could type that equation into Desmos if you want to solve it. I'm not going to go over it. All right, let's do the next one. So I actually think Desmos makes this one a heck of a lot easier, but why don't we do it by hand first, just for the sake of it. So h of x is equal to f of x plus g of x. And I'm going to do h of x equals 1/4 x minus 9 plus 3/4 x plus 21. So I should get 1/4 plus 3/4 is 1. So I get 1x, or just x. And then negative 9 plus 21, what's that? I get 12, so this should be x plus 12. And just to make this next part easier to see, I'm just going to rewrite this as y equals x plus 12. And they want us to find the x-coordinate of the x-intercept. So to find an x-intercept, you plug in y equals 0. And to find a y-intercept, you plug in x equals 0. So always make the other letter 0. So I'm going to make y equals 0. And now I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. And I get x equals negative 12, which is the x-coordinate of the x-intercept. That is right. Desmos is really helpful on this one. Watch what I do. So f of x equals 1/4 x minus 9. G of x equals 3/4 x plus 21. And h of x equals f of x plus g of x. And just unhighlight those first two. And it wants you to find the x-intercept, so you just click on it, and it tells you negative 12. So I just did that in like pretty much 20 seconds. Don't be afraid to use Desmos for any graphs question. And even if they ask you like, oh, what's h of 8 or something, you could type that in, and it would tell you. Anyway, great. So we're making really good progress. I think we just have one left. So let's do the 680 and higher now. Okay, so to solve this equation, I'm going to cross multiply. So 13 x plus 6 equals 3 x plus 6. And now it doesn't want me to find x, it wants me to find x plus 6. So I'm actually going to get the x plus 6 by itself. So I'm going to subtract 3x plus 6 from both sides. And I get 10x plus 6 equals 0. Now divide both sides by 10, and you get x plus 6 equals 0. So that is between negative 2 and 2. That one is correct. If you didn't know what to do, just like with any equation, you could type it into Desmos. I don't have any x's in the denominator, so I can do this kind of the fast way. And I get x is -6. So if I do -6, x plus 6 plus 6, I get 0. So you could have solved it. This is the 680 to 800 band, and you could have solved that in about like 15 seconds using Desmos. So really helpful. Anyway. All right, let's look at this one. These ones are really tricky. I've gotten ones wrong like this in the past myself. So what you have to do is you're going to do mx plus b each additional day. So the slope is 135. And the y-intercept, the initial amount, is 270. But you see how it says 270 for the first day? It's not at the start, it's for the first day. So that's your B and that's your M. What you have to do is you have to shift your function back a day. By instead of writing x, you have to put x minus 1 because it's 1 day. So you see this part here was actually really important to solving the question. I'm pretty sure that's going to give us our answer. I'm pretty sure. Let's work it out. So I get y equals 135. If I distribute x minus 135 plus 270, and then y equals 135x, let's do negative 135 plus 270, that's positive 135, and that gives you answer choice D. There was a question like this on one of the digital SAT practice tests. I wouldn't be surprised if they asked this again. But that's your answer. So there's that really tricky part here is we had to shift it back x minus 1 because it was after 1 day. Now what I probably would have done here is I probably would have just went, personally, I would have just went, okay, the slope is 135. And then they give me a point, $270 for the first day. So 1 day, which is x, comma, 270. And then found the equation of the line that way, either using point slope or using mx plus b. So why don't I do point slope? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And we get y minus 270 equals 135 x minus 1. And if you add over the 270 and then distribute, you get the same thing. So yeah, that might have been helpful. You also can, of course, use Desmos to help you. So if I put 1, comma 270, and if I said m equals 135. And then y1, hopefully this will work. Yep, it tells me b equals 135, so the equation is y equals 135x plus 135. Great. Yeah, I think for this one, guys, it's like you can shift it back, but I would just be so worried about making a mistake. I would just write down the slope and then write down the point and then do it the old-fashioned way, so to speak. I feel like that's more intuitive. That's what you learn to do in school, right? But I wanted to go over this way because the College Board answer key does talk about that. Okay, that completes the lesson. Please like and subscribe for more digital SAT math content. If you are interested in my tutoring services, the link to my website will be in the description. I tutor SAT math, and all math subjects from about 7th grade to AP/early college level. Thanks for stopping by, and good luck studying.